If you're planning to grab a bite at any of these 8 restaurants in 2026, you might want to reconsider. You might want to pause this video, take a deep breath, and prepare yourself. Because what these chains are serving up this year goes way beyond questionable ingredients. We're talking about practices so shocking, they'll make you wonder if your taste buds have been lying to you all along. Your appetite might just vanish faster than a limited time offer that was never actually limited. Let's kick things off with a name that sounds wholesome, friendly, and downright American. Cracker Barrel, the place where rocking chairs sit outside and nostalgia is served by the plateful. But behind that country store charm lies a kitchen operation that would make your grandmother weep into her apron. Former employees have blown the whistle on some truly disturbing practices. The gravy, that thick, creamy comfort food everyone raves about, it doesn't come from a slow-simmered pot. It comes from industrial powder packets mixed with tap water. One former cook described it as concrete mix with chicken flavoring. They literally told new hires to just add water and stir until it stops looking like paste. But it gets worse. Multiple health inspection reports from 2025 revealed that several Cracker Barrel locations were storing raw chicken directly above cooked vegetables in walk-in coolers. That means chicken juice, bacteria-laden chicken juice, was dripping down onto food meant to be served as is. One inspector in Tennessee found a pan of biscuits sitting uncovered next to a mop bucket. When asked about it, the manager shrugged and said they were short on counter space. Short on counter space or short on common sense? And let's talk about those famous biscuits. They arrive frozen, not made from scratch with buttermilk and love. Frozen solid, then reheated in an oven that one worker claimed hadn't been deep cleaned in over 6 months. The smell inside that oven, according to a viral TikTok confession, was like burnt hair and regret. A customer once posted a photo of their chicken fried steak. It was gray, rubbery, and had the texture of a yoga mat that had given up on fitness. One commenter simply wrote, "That's not food, that's a cry for help." Another said, "I've seen better meals in a gas station vending machine. The pancakes, which are supposed to be fluffy and golden, often come out with dark specks embedded in them. Employees revealed those specks aren't blueberries, they're burnt residue from a griddle that hasn't been scraped properly. You're not getting extra flavor, you're getting yesterday's mistakes. And don't even get started on the hash brown casserole. It's been sitting in a warming tray since the breakfast rush started, which means it could be there for hours, slowly crusting on top while breeding bacteria underneath. That's not a side dish. That's a science experiment with cheese on top." Now let's shift gears to a place that promises fresh, natural, and organic. Panera Bread. It sounds healthy, doesn't it? The whole grain vibe, the cozy bakery aesthetic, the salads with names like Fuji Apple and Mediterranean. But Panera's clean image is built on some pretty dirty secrets. First off, that bread you're eating, the stuff they claim is baked fresh daily. It's actually par-baked at central facilities, frozen, and then finished in store ovens. One former baker admitted they would sometimes use dough that had been sitting out overnight because throwing it away would mess up inventory counts. Moldy? Just scrape it off. Discolored? Bake it darker. No one will notice. The soups, which are marketed as wholesome and made with care, arrive in plastic bags. Giant industrial plastic bags that get dropped into boiling water to heat up. It's not a soup pot. It's a sous vide for people who don't know they're being scammed. A worker once posted a video showing how the broccoli cheddar soup, a customer favorite, is prepared. It's poured out of a bag that looks like it came from a hospital cafeteria, then dumped into a metal container with a ladle. The caption read, "Your artisan meal is a microwave away." Temperature control is also a massive issue. Health inspectors in multiple states cited Panera for improperly stored meats, cross-contamination between raw and ready-to-eat items, and even pest sightings. One location in California was temporarily shut down after inspectors found rodent droppings near the bread racks. Yes, the bread racks. That sourdough bowl you love might have been seasoned with a little extra protein. And the salads. Oh, the beautiful Instagram-worthy salads. They're often assembled hours before service and left sitting in refrigerated units that aren't always at the right temperature. One customer found a wilted brown lettuce leaf in their salad and posted it online with the caption, "I paid $14 for compost." Panera's response was generic and robotic, which only made people angrier. When your food costs that much, it shouldn't look like it's already been digested. Even the pastries aren't safe. Employees have shared that items nearing expiration are often repackaged with new dates, or mixed into the bakery case with fresh stock, so that chocolate croissant might be 3 days old, but it'll be priced like it was made this morning. One worker joked that the only thing fresh at Panera is the lies. Next up, we have a restaurant that markets itself as fast, cheap, and always available. Sonic Drive-In. You know, the place with roller skating car hops and endless drink combinations. But behind those bright lights and retro vibes is a kitchen operation that would make your car's glove compartment look sanitary. Let's start with the ice. Sonic is famous for its chewable nugget ice, the kind people actually crave. But multiple former employees have revealed that those ice machines are rarely cleaned properly. One worker said they once opened the machine to find thick black mold growing along the interior walls. The manager told them to just scoop from the top and not tell anyone. So that cherry limeade you're sipping, it might come with a side of fungus. The hot dogs, a Sonic staple, are kept in warmers for hours. And we're not talking 1 or 2 hours. Some employees claim dogs sit there for an entire shift. By the time you order one, it's shriveled, discolored, and has the texture of rubber tubing. A customer once described their chili cheese coney as tasting like it had been through a war. Another said the bun was so stale it could double as a weapon. But perhaps the most disturbing revelation involves the fryers. Sonic uses the same fryers for everything. Mozzarella sticks, chicken strips, onion rings, tater tots. That means if the oil isn't changed regularly, and spoiler alert, it often isn't, you're getting a fried medley of old grease, burnt crumbs, and mystery particles. One employee said the oil at their location was supposed to be changed every 3 days. In reality, it went a full week. The fries that came out were dark, greasy, and tasted vaguely like fish even though they don't serve fish. Let's not forget about the condiment station. You know, that little setup with ketchup, mustard, and relish. Health inspectors have found flies, sticky residue, and even expired condiment packets at multiple locations. One report noted that a ketchup pump was encrusted with dried sauce that looked like it had been there since 2022. That's not a garnish, that's a biohazard. Sonic's business model relies on speed and convenience, but that convenience often means corners are cut. Staff are pressured to get orders out fast, which leads to skipped hand washing, reused gloves, and food being dropped and served anyway. A former car hop confessed that they once dropped a burger on the ground, picked it up and served it because remaking it would take too long. The customer never knew. But now you do. All right, let's talk about a chain that's tried very hard to rebrand itself as modern, fresh, and health-conscious. Wendy's, the home of the square burger, and the sassy Twitter account. But no amount of clever tweets can cover up what's happening behind the counter. Wendy's loves to brag about its never-frozen beef, and technically, that's true. But never frozen doesn't mean always fresh. Workers have reported that beef patties sit in warming drawers for extended periods, sometimes over an hour, which turns them into dry, gray hockey pucks. One employee said they were trained to add extra mayo and ketchup to mask the dryness. If your burger tastes like condiments with a hint of meat, now you know why. The chili, which Wendy's markets as hearty and homemade, is actually made from old unsold hamburger patties. That's right, those burgers that didn't get ordered, they get chopped up, tossed into a pot with beans and spices, and rebranded as chili. It's not waste reduction, it's recycling your regret. One customer found a piece of burger bun in their chili and posted the photo with the caption, "Is this a soup or a trash can?" Wendy's tried to spin it as a fluke, but former employees confirmed it's standard practice. The fries, which are supposed to be hot and crispy, are often served lukewarm and limp because workers are told to keep them under heat lamps rather than make fresh batches. One worker admitted they would sometimes serve fries that had been sitting for 20 minutes because throwing them out would mess up waste counts. Your natural cut fries, they're naturally stale. And the Frosty machines. Oh boy. These machines, like most fast food dessert dispensers, require regular deep cleaning, but many locations skip it or do a surface-level rinse. The inside of those machines can harbor mold, milk residue, and bacteria that no amount of chocolate flavoring can hide. A technician who services Frosty machines said that some of the units he's opened looked like they belonged in a horror movie. One had visible slime coating the nozzle. Another had curdled milk stuck in the tubes. And yet, they kept serving Frosties like nothing was wrong. Even the salads, which Wendy's introduced to appeal to health-conscious customers, have been called out for poor quality. Wilted greens, expired dressing packets, and chicken strips that taste more like cardboard than poultry. One reviewer said their Southwest avocado salad had exactly 3 pieces of avocado and they were brown. For $10, you'd expect more than sadness in a bowl. Now let's head to a place that tries to be everything to everyone. Denny's, the 24-hour diner that never sleeps, and judging by the food quality, neither do the bacteria. Denny's is the kind of place you go to at 2 a.m. after a long night, and maybe that's by design because in the dark, you can't see what you're really eating. Employees have shared horror stories about the overnight shift, when supervision is minimal and standards drop lower than the IQ of someone ordering a Grand Slam at 3 a.m. One worker said that during graveyard shifts, it was common to see the same bacon sitting on the grill for over an hour, slowly turning into charcoal. If a customer ordered it, they'd just scrape off the burnt parts and serve it. Extra crispy, they'd call it. More like extra carcinogenic. The pancakes, which are supposed to be fluffy and warm, are often made from batter that's been sitting out for hours. One former cook revealed that they were told to just stir the batter if it started separating. No need to make a fresh batch. The syrup dispensers, those little pitchers on every table, are rarely washed properly. Sticky, crusty, and sometimes moldy, they get refilled over and over without a proper cleaning. You're not pouring syrup. You're pouring a petri dish. And the eggs, Denny's uses a liquid egg product for most of its dishes. It comes in cartons, gets poured onto the griddle, and is supposed to look like real scrambled eggs. But workers have said that if the carton is close to expiring, they'll still use it even if it smells off. One employee described the smell as like old socks mixed with sulfur. Delicious. The meat is another issue. Sausage links, bacon, ham, it all comes pre-cooked and frozen. It gets reheated on a flat-top grill that isn't always cleaned between uses, so your turkey bacon might taste like yesterday's pork sausage. Cross-contamination isn't just possible, it's practically guaranteed. And don't even think about ordering a milkshake. The machines are notoriously filthy. One health inspector found mold growing inside a shake machine at a Denny's in Nevada. The staff claimed they didn't know how to clean it properly. That's not an excuse. That's a confession. Let's move on to a restaurant that somehow still exists despite everyone knowing it's terrible. Applebee's. Wait, didn't we already talk about them? No, we're talking about them again because they deserve a second roasting. But let's pivot to another chain that's equally disappointing. Chili's. The place where the baby back ribs song is more memorable than the actual ribs. Chili's has built its brand on Tex-Mex flavors and sizzling fajitas. But the sizzle is mostly for show. Those fajitas arrive at your table on a hot skillet, but the meat itself, frozen, reheated, and often rubbery. One customer said their steak fajitas tasted like they'd been marinated in regret and grilled with disappointment. The queso, that melted cheese dip everyone orders, it's not real cheese. It's a processed cheese product made from powder, oil, and emulsifiers. One employee said it comes in a bag and gets heated in a microwave. That's it. No melting, no stirring, just nuke it and serve it. The chips, which are supposed to be fresh, are often stale because they're made in bulk and left sitting in bins for hours. One worker admitted they would sometimes serve chips from the previous day's batch because nobody could tell the difference. If your chips taste like cardboard, now you know why. The margaritas, Chili's signature drink, are made with the cheapest tequila available and loaded with sugar to mask the taste. One bartender confessed that the house margarita was basically sugar water with a splash of alcohol. If you want a real drink, you'd better specify top shelf, and even then, you're rolling the dice. The burgers are pre-formed patties that arrive frozen and get cooked on a grill that's rarely cleaned. One employee said the grill grates were so caked with old grease and char that they joked it added flavor. That's not flavor, that's filth. And the desserts, like the molten chocolate cake, they're not made in-house. They arrive frozen, get microwaved, and are topped with ice cream that's been sitting in a freezer with questionable temperature control. One customer found ice crystals all over their cake and described it as eating frozen sadness. Finally, let's talk about the restaurant that somehow convinced America it's upscale. The Cheesecake Factory. With a menu the size of a phone book and portion sizes that could feed a small village, the Cheesecake Factory seems like a dream come true. But it's more like a fever dream with a side of food poisoning. The menu is so massive that it's physically impossible for the kitchen to make everything fresh. Instead, most dishes are prepped in advance, stored in industrial fridges, and reheated when ordered. One former line cook said they were basically assembling meals, not cooking them. The pasta pre-boiled, the sauces pre-made, the chicken pre-seasoned and frozen. You're paying $20 for a TV dinner with better plating. The cheesecake, ironically, is one of the few things that's actually decent because it's made off-site at a central bakery and shipped frozen. But even that comes with risks. Employees have shared that cheesecakes are often stored improperly, leading to freezer burn and weird textures. One customer said their slice tasted like it had been frozen, thawed, and refrozen multiple times. The iceberg effect, someone called it. And the portions, while generous, are often a tactic to distract you from the lack of quality. You're not getting more value. You're just getting more mediocrity. One reviewer said their chicken parmesan looked like it had been run over by a truck, then microwaved back to life. The cheese was rubbery. The sauce was watery and the chicken was dry enough to double as kindling. So what's the takeaway here? It's not that you should never eat out again. It's that you should be smarter about where you choose to spend your money and trust your stomach. These 8 restaurants have one thing in common. They prioritize profit over quality, speed over safety, and marketing over honesty. The food might look good in commercials, but in reality, it's a gamble every single time. Your health, your wallet, and your dignity deserve better than reheated mystery meat, frozen pasta, and cheese that isn't even cheese. In 2026, the truth is harder to hide, and people are waking up to what's really on their plates. So before you pull into that drive-thru or sit down at that booth, ask yourself, is this meal worth the risk? Because at the end of the day, food should nourish you, not betray you. Restaurants won't always be honest about what's happening behind the scenes, but we will. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks Chili's queso is real cheese. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth isn't always on the menu, but it should be.